welcome back to Best at Home, my trapped at home cooking show. Today we are taking a humble ingredient, the pancake mix, and dressing it up in the best way we possibly can, with the help of a famous pancake chef.
A key characteristic of a great pancake is to have that golden ring around it. And in order to get that, you have to put enough fat on the pan.
You're gonna see an unfortunate amount of egg drama. Oh no! Oh no, I'm making a mess. How do I clean up an egg? We are going to end up with 3 amazing dishes. The first one has a surprise ingredient. I picked a submission that completely shocked me, and if it works, I will be blown away. Dish 2 is a sweet and savory pancake casserole.
Oh, she's beautiful.
And for the third dish, I'm making a home-cooked version of my favorite pancakes in New York City. The recipe with the surprise ingredient was one of your submissions. When I read it, I was skeptical, but my producer...
I feel like I only drink ginger ale when I'm sick or like have indigestion, so...
But it made you feel better when you drink it, so maybe the pancakes will be like medicinal. I think you gotta try it.
When you say medicinal and pancakes in one sentence, that should not belong together.
2 birds, 1 stone. Knock it out. You got it.
Okay.
So instead of adding water into the pancake mix, I'm going to be subbing that with ginger ale. I'm curious to see how the ginger flavor and the sweetness and the smell will pair with the pancake mix. If I follow the instructions, I will be making 6 to 7 pancakes with 1 cup of mix to 2/3 cup of cold water. Instead of the cold water, I'll be adding in the ginger ale.
As you can see, I didn't overmix because there are still some lumps. Now we wait. So it's been 2 minutes and it is definitely a lot thicker and there's so many bubbles.
I don't have a cast iron skillet or a pan with like small shallow walls, which is what I would use if I were making pancakes at home. But what we do have is this giant saucepan with like, big sloped sides, but we have to do with what we can, right? So the instruction said to put the heat on medium-high and lightly grease the pan. I'm gonna grease the pan with butter because pancakes and butter go hand in hand. The batter is very liquidy, which worries me, but I did follow it to instructions and it's very foamy still. The batter smells like ginger ale and flour and yeast, and it's concerning because it doesn't smell great, so I hope that it doesn't taste like how it smells. They are bubbling, and they have this nice little golden brown underside, but I don't think they're ready to flip yet. I'm doing pretty well. Hopefully I don't jinx this, but they're a nice golden brown, and they don't smell like ginger ale anymore. I think these are ready to plate. Oh my god. Why hasn't this blown up? So for method 2, I found a creative, out-of-the-box recipe that combines savory and sweet and all of my favorite breakfast foods into one dish. So the recipe that I found is on Avery Cooks and Krusty's main website, and it is a bacon cheddar green onion casserole, and it uses pancake mix as the bottom layer, I think, based off of reading the recipe. It sounds complicated, but we're here to try. Before I start everything, I think I need to prep the bacon and chop up the green onions, so let me do that first. The recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, melted, and it requires a 9x9 inch pan, 1 cup of Krusty's buttermilk pancake mix. So I'm just gonna use the remaining pancake mix that I used from method 1. Okay, so I have my cup of pancake mix. I put that in, then I add 1/2 cup of milk. No! So I have my 1/4 cup of melted butter that has kind of hardened because it's so cold here. I'm just gonna whisk it and then put it in that buttered pan.
I wonder if like the over mixing applies here.
I'm just gonna pour in my mix now. This looks very thin. Like it's barely covering the pan, so I hope it rises. So now I'm gonna make the rest of what's going in the casserole, which is half a cup of milk, 3 eggs. Oh no! Oh no. Oh, and the bacon's done. This is a wrap. I'm making a mess. How do I clean up an egg? This was probably the worst way to clean up an egg. No, milk! God. I'll be right back. Okay, third egg. I'm just throwing in some green onions, and now I'm whisking. So now that I have the batter done and the second liquid part done, the bacon chopped and separated and the green onions chopped, whew, now it's just the assembly. So 1 cup of cheddar cheese. So I guess with this, the pancake mix on the bottom is kind of like, I don't know, like the crust of a pie or the bottom part of like a, blueberry bar or something. It's just supposed to be like a bready bottom. I'm just gonna add in the bacon. And it's time for this wet mix. The last remaining step is just to add in more cheese and more bacon. Yum. And now it's gonna cook for 35 to 40 minutes at 375.
Ooh, wow. Oh, she's beautiful.
Now that it is cooled off a little bit, I'm just gonna add some green onions. For the third method, I'm reaching out to Chef Neil Kleinberg from Clinton Street Baking Company. This restaurant in New York City is famous for its pancakes. People normally wait hours just to get a taste.
What should I make with the pancake mix?
You should make our blueberry pancakes. We're famous for them. If you're going to get a mix, get something that has the basic dry ingredients in a regular pancake mix that you're making from scratch. Flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, baking soda.
The only pancake mix that I was able to find, which was difficult in and of itself, was this one. Have you ever seen it?
Oh, Croustiers. Never heard of it. Now, the key in making something delicious from a box of something is to add things to it. Maybe some regular buttermilk, maybe enhance it because it has dried buttermilk in it. But if you put some fresh buttermilk in it, if the recipe calls for 1 cup of water and you want to add buttermilk, you're going to take half a cup of water and a half a cup of the buttermilk. If you can't add a little bit of fresh buttermilk, then take a little regular milk and a spoon of sour cream and mix it together and you'll get like this thickened sour milk.
I'm gonna put in half of the amount with buttermilk. That doesn't smell very good. Oh my God, that is horrible by itself.
Is there anything else other than buttermilk I should add into the batter?
You could add a cap of vanilla extract. You can add an extra egg. It will make it much richer.
I hope that it doesn't make the pancakes more thin, just because I feel like it adds in a lot more liquid than the package instructions.
Don't overmix it. As we all know, we don't overmix pancake mix because then it'll become glutinous and stretchy.
I can see little bubbles forming. I think that's the reason why I'm not supposed to overmix, is because these bubbles give it that extra fluffiness.
And then you let it rest.
What's the purpose of letting it rest?
Well, you're letting it rest so you can pull the flavors together and you can actually form a batter. And if you go too quick in the pan, then the molecules of the liquid and the dry won't have a chance to meld. Right?
How should I start cooking the pancakes?
So get the large saucepan hot by turning on the flame and then lowering the flame so it's hot to the touch, like a bead of water would bubble up on it.
I think it's definitely hot enough.
Then at that point, add a generous amount of butter, like a pat of butter, maybe a half a tablespoon or something like that, and swirl it around the pan until it starts to get foamy but not brown. That's the point at which you're going to put a spoon or a ladle full of pancake mix in the pan. A key characteristic of a great pancake is to have that golden ring around it when you first flip it. And in order to get that, you have to put enough fat on the pan. If you have a large pan like you're describing at home, kind of use that large pan as a clock. Start the first pancake at 12 o'clock, then the next one at 3 o'clock, then the next one at 6 o'clock, and then the next one at 9 o'clock. Don't make them too big because then they're going to run into each other. Then let it cook. Medium heat. You'll start to see the bubbles come up. That's the point at when you add your filling. We use wild Maine blueberries that have a very short season, but we get them frozen, and they're wonderful frozen because they're tiny and they're packed full of flavor. If you can't find those, then cultivated regular frozen blueberries are really good. Actually, frozen fruit is really good in a pancake because they don't overcook and they cook into the batter and they hold their shape really well.
Definitely sweeter than your regular blueberries.
And then with a spatula, just flip each one.
No. I can see why he didn't want a pan with sloped sides.
And then don't push it down. Never flip them more than once. They're going to become tough in about a minute or two. They should be cooked on the bottom.
I got 4 golden rings.
Is there any other way that I can make this pancake meal even more delicious?
Yeah, we're going to make maple butter. That's our trademark syrup. And there's a very easy, great technique of how to make it. Take a small saucepan, take a half a cup of really good maple syrup, and then have a little whisk and take a stick of butter or a half a stick of butter sliced in some pats. And then as the maple syrup is getting warm, one pat at a time, whisk the butter into the maple syrup until it melts.
I've never made an emulsification before.
I am alarmed at the amount of butter that is in this.
You can't go wrong. Even if the pancakes suck, this maple butter will make them delicious.
I'm going to give it a taste. Ooh, that is good. Throughout this whole process, it was a journey. I had a lot of skeptical moments. It definitely is a lot more porous and bubbly and fluffy. It should not taste this good. You can't smell the ginger ale at all. And the only thing that it did was provide like fluffiness, but also like this sweetness that you wouldn't have gotten from cold water. And compared to like seltzer, the sweetness here, it's like so subtle and fluffy. Oh my God. Why hasn't this blown up? The bottom looks exactly like how I predicted. It's like pancake on the bottom and then like a frittata on top. This is exactly how I imagined it to taste. I love everything about this and I wouldn't change a single thing. I mean, the cheese is melty. That pancake bottom is nice and fluffy, even if it was cooked in a casserole dish. To make this casserole without the pancake mix, I feel like you would miss out on a lot because that pancake bottom not only provides like a spongy foundation to soak up all that goodness, But with the maple syrup, I feel like all the flavors kind of like meld even better. Ooh, that looks so pretty. All right, I'm going in. Those are the best pancakes I've ever made for myself. The texture of the pancakes is a lot fluffier and softer than the other two methods and pancakes you would just get from the box. The buttermilk, egg, vanilla all make the pancakes so much fluffier and like have more flavor to them. It's such a drastic difference. And this maple butter, I could literally put it on everything, but I'm not going to because I know just how much butter goes into this. So here are my final thoughts. All three methods were so good and successful. With that being said, I feel like method 2 was the best. It blew me out of the water most just because it used the pancake mix in a way I would have never have thought to do. And that recipe was so delicious and I feel like I'll make it over and over again. Method 1 was impressive just because I never thought ginger ale and pancake mix would go hand in hand. I don't see how this hack hasn't blown up already. Like, everyone should try it. Chef Neil's tips and tricks from method 3 just made me into a better pancake maker. I have so much pancake mix left over, so I want to try your tips and tricks and your secret ingredients. Please let me know in the comment section and tell me what you would like to see me do next. All right, bye!